So the goal for today's video is really just a exploration of all of the freaking tabs that I have open in Chrome and exploration of what it's going to look like to think and build things going forward in the future as we're aided by AI. So my goal for this video is to coherently and accurately categorize and sort a bunch of incoming information sources, do the right things with them that align with my goals, and do them quickly and effectively. This is kind of like a, what are we going to call it? It's kind of like a benchmark maybe for my own ability to think and solve problems. And the reason I'm doing this video is because I'm increasingly using AI to accomplish things and to build things, and I do worry about the potential loss of critical thinking abilities, the loss of making quick connections in my brain between concepts. I don't want the real meat and potatoes of what's valuable about my cognition to be handed off to an AI. I want to hand off the drudgery, I want to hand off the execution, I want to hand off the searching through the code base. I don't want to hand off the actual thinking. So I'm doing this on April 11, 2026, and a little bit of context here. I typically throughout the week will hop into Hacker News or various forums, or I'll Google things that I'm interested in. If I hear something during a meeting that I've got a little bit of experience with, or maybe that I've never heard of before, I'll drop a Google Chrome tab just to make sure that I come back and remember to investigate it later. So I've got all of these Chrome tab groups, and they just pile up and they pile up and they beg for my attention. And the most important thing going forward, as we are bombarded by content and ideas and AI generated answers to questions, is what do you focus on, and how do you actually protect your brain, and how do you put the right things into it? How do you filter out the chaff? I'm sure there's going to be some sort of AI filter, hopefully self-hosted, that people use going forward. But for today, I'm just going to go ahead and try and see, okay, what's important, what is worth me spending serious time learning, what is just a waste of time, and I'm going to articulate along the way why I'm making each choice. So without further ado, let's go. Okay, DHH's new way of writing code. I think this is important for me to at least speed watch, so I'm going to keep this link and I'm going to drop it in my Obsidian. I don't think you guys can see my Obsidian, but I'm dropping it in there in a temporary note. Actually, you know what? Let's just keep it in Chrome. Let's make one new group for everything that's not remove from group, add to new group, pass the sniff test. So this is stuff that's actually worth my time to engage in. Okay, what do we got here? NADD. I'm trying to remember what that is. I think I got linked to this article from Hacker News. NADD related disorder. What does that mean? What is NADD? Rapid fire content delivered in short, clever, punchy phrases. What is NADD? Nerd attention deficiency disorder. Oh, this is somebody, I remember this essay is somebody writing about his experiences having difficulty focusing on one thing for an extended period of time. How long is this essay? Not that long. Okay, fine. Let me just, I'll just skim it right now. I'll just get it out of the way. So, okay, so he has difficulty reading through a long work, he gets bored, can relate. Rapid fire content delivered in short, clear. Yeah, this is a problem. Being able to sit and focus on one thing for an extended period of time is literally the best way to succeed. So I can kind of relate to this. It's evidenced by all of my tabs. Yeah, that makes sense. It's probably what I'm trying to accomplish here is weighing the pros and cons and finding the correct balance between consuming new and more content and learning new things versus focusing and mastering the stuff I already know. I think this is already a pretty good step, letting my interesting articles and videos and ideas pile up, and then knocking them all out on a Saturday. I think that's a pretty good way to do it because it keeps me on track during the week. But there's always optimizations to be made here. So diagnosed me, okay, blah blah blah. So she got diagnosed. You enjoy your content in moderation. Yeah, I used to enjoy reading books, really long books, a lot. I can kind of relate to this. I used to love reading long series of books, and now I almost find it to be a pain in the butt. I would prefer to build something and go from zero to complete in a single day. That's way more fulfilling for me. So that's a bit of a problem. You surf the content fire hose. Absolutely, yeah. So he and I have a lot, or she, uh, we have a lot to relate on here. The context switch. Okay, what was the key thing that this person noticed? Hmm. Yeah, context switch. Okay, they're probably going to say context switching is expensive. Suffers Suffers multitask with deft purpose. They're on a quest of high-speed information acquisition and processing. Yeah, I like that. Okay. You become very adept at controlling it. There is more good news. Sure. Agreed. But what exactly? It can advance your career if you're in the right career. Yes, I've seen that. I've worked with people who are incredibly good at context switching during meetings, and that is a very valuable skill to have as long as it doesn't actually negatively impact your ability to ship. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yep. 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 Okay. So there are downsides. So interesting. I was going into this article thinking this person was going to be trying to fix their NADD, but they're actually embracing it. Okay, cool. Kind of true. Huh. Yeah, this reminds me from it reminds me of some advice that I saw in a book called, oh, what was it? It was Efficiency: Get Rich Without Giving Up Your Life, and it was by some anonymous group called the Wall Street Playboys. They said that it's very important to cultivate an off switch. You need to be able to turn on all the way and work and focus hardcore, but you also need to be able to turn that switch off if you want to be a well-rounded person. I think there's a bit of a parallel here to this NADD concept, and that parallel is, sure, it's a very useful tool to have at your disposal, the ability to spread out and have your fingers in a lot of pies information wise and understand things and know where to go and how to context switch quickly, maybe manage multiple projects at the same time. But if you can't turn it off, that's going to be a social problem. Okay, cool. Good essay. Not sure if it was exactly worth my time, but it affirmed some ideas that I have, and it interestingly framed NAD as a positive thing. So cool. I'm going to keep that, drop it in my Obsidian in a new note called NADD. Nerd attention deficiency disorder. Why not? I'll make a new note titled that, in case I ever need to write about or go back to this idea. Okay, so now boom, that one's done. Now, I want to admit that that was a pretty expensive thing to do. I just spent probably 5 to 10 minutes reading that essay, and that's because the reason that I chose to do that is because I found that it pertained a lot, or it had a lot of parallels to my lived experience. So I thought, maybe there will be a moment of self-discovery here. Is that worth spending 5 or 10 minutes on? Maybe not. Maybe going forward, it's not going to be worth my time. But especially as things become hyper-personalized and better at reading you. So just a heads up, that's why I chose to read that one. Okay, what do we got? Let's go in a random order. What category theory teaches us about data frames? This sounds like going really deep. I love data frames. I've used pandas before. Y3 migration functions. There's a natural relationship between them. See, I'm already getting sucked in. This is terrible. You can collapse the data along the mappings by merges more multiple employees. See, this sucks. I think maybe I'm really good at choosing stuff that goes into tabs, but this idea here, these ideas are going to teach me a lot about database design. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to read it now. I'm going to throw this in my database notes. Relational database notes. I'm throwing this link in here. There's a very good chance that I'm never going to read this, but these are valuable ideas that seem to be geared towards helping a human create better data processes, structures, relations, and I'm all about that. I want to be the one dictating the high-level architecture to the AI if I'm building a system, at least for now. At least for now. I think maintaining the quality of what you build is very important, and being able to articulate exactly what you want and understand the business, and more importantly how the business relates to the software world, very important skills. So I'm not going to read this, but I'm going to save it for later. Okay, TDF ejects core developers. I believe this is an open source project. Yeah, DHH would hate this. He's a big proponent of the leaders of a technical company also being technical. So, I mean, obviously this is just how things go, I think. What do we got? First of all, what is TDF? Oh, wait, no. First of all, should I even care about this? This is news. Okay, the news is that there is a company somewhere called TDF, comprised in the past of mostly coders, and over time that shifted to non-coders. That's not really surprising to me. I'm going to not read this because what the heck? Like, we know that highly technical companies tend to become more corporate over time. Sure, that's a thing. And I got 2 tabs for this. Very interesting. Mark Andreessen is wrong about introspection. Yeah, he made some interesting interesting statements on a podcast recently, I think. He said, and this dude's rich, right? He's very successful. He says that introspection is new and it's wrong and it's not actually something that we need. He says it's a very new idea, and I believe I read a good chunk of this essay. I believe that this essay just claims, hey, introspection is actually not a new thing. Look at like literally all of Eastern philosophy. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just make a note in Obsidian for Mark Andreessen, and I'm going to drop the link to this article in here because I think it's an interesting article. There's a good chance that someday I'll be interested, but I'm not going to read the whole thing. So I make a note for the person titled Mark Andreessen, add a tag for person, and then I drop a link to article about his introspection claims. Boom. Okay, now I can close this tab. I'm not reading that whole thing. The Techno Optimist Manifest, Mark Andreessen. You know what? Screw it. I'll put this in his Mark Andreessen note too. Manifesto. He's very optimistic about the future of technology. Now, when I opened the link to this tab, I probably thought, oh, that's company code. I probably thought that the ideas of Mark Andreessen surrounding the future of technology would be very important for me to learn and understand. But here's the thing. What would I use it for? This is some guy's ideas about where technology should go. He could have written that essay for any number of reasons, not just to share ideas. He could have written that essay to convince somebody of something, maybe somebody he wanted to get money from. I don't know. The point being, just because I read that essay, that doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to have success at predicting the future of technology or that I will receive a personal benefit from doing it. So yeah, he might have some interesting thoughts. It might even open up my brain a bit. It doesn't necessarily apply to me. I think it's going to be a waste of time to read it, so I'm not going to do it. Okay, blogosphere. What is the blogosphere? Bunch of content. Don't need it. How Epstein broke the internet. Oh yeah, this is interesting. Apparently Epstein was tied to the 4chan creator. Interesting. Unanswered questions. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, let me just skim this. Why not? I am not diving down a rabbit hole of Epstein. There's other people doing that. Collapse of the global order. Believed he was. Okay. Okay, so blah blah blah. Epstein apparently knew some powerful people. Very cool. This is an article about how Microsoft vaporized $1 trillion. Something about their bad deals with OpenAI. Don't care. My quest to solve Bitcoin's great mystery. Oh yeah, this guy thinks he found out who Satoshi Nakamoto is. Interesting. I'll just drop it in the Bitcoin. I'll just drop it in the Bitcoin note. I'm not going to read that. Don't got time. Don't got time. It doesn't affect me. It doesn't affect me. Why is my keyboard not letting me control W? Medic Defenses, Part 1. Ooh, that's interesting. But let me drop this in the Bitcoin note in case I ever want to read it. So I create a new note called Bitcoin with tag software. Surprised I don't have that already. I probably have a cryptocurrency one. Let me see, can I link it to the cryptocurrency note? Yep, I can, boom. Link created. And drop that link in there. Okay. Medic Defenses, Part 1. That relates to what I'm doing today, trying to protect my brain. So from the fire hose of the internet by using intentionality. And honestly, guys, if anybody's even watching this, this is more like a diary entry for myself and recording the ways that I think. But if anybody's watching this, I'm pretty certain that we're all going to have our own little brain protectors. It might be a little AI agent that lives in the cloud and it scours your web pages and your social media feeds, and it might bolt on top of them. Ideally, if we all adopt something like the AT protocol, where we are decentralized and all of our content is owned by us, probably hosted by others, but immutably tied to our online identities. Key point, the actual anonymity part, I don't know if that's been solved yet. We need to have the ability to see. I'm doing the context switching thing again. Here's what I'm trying to say. In the future, we're probably going to have way more AI generated content created by people that have money, that are using the content to try and shift your perceptions, your ideas, your beliefs. For example, nation states or governments that want to change how you think. That's a very valuable thing. People will probably pay good money for it. It's already happening. So there's going to be a lot more content coming out, and there already is a flood of it, and it's going to become increasingly difficult to tell what is real and what is generated by AI. So that necessitates some sort of layer to the internet, like the verification layer. You know how we have HTTPS? So if I come to this link, it's actually HTTPS atproto.com. We're using SSL, and we're using open source free encryption. The entire internet is encrypted by this company called, well, not one company, but one open source. I believe these guys are nonprofit. This group, they make it possible for everybody to get that HTTPS part to their URL, which basically means that the traffic between your computer and the website is not readable by other people unless those other people are really good. That's like a security layer to the internet, and it's common, it's shared everywhere. I think what we're also going to need is a identity verification layer to the internet that is open source, that is shared, that is used everywhere. Maybe it's going to be the AT protocol. Maybe every social media is going to die. I'm bullish on that happening, actually. I think that Blue Sky, Mastodon, stuff like that is going to take over eventually, because the social media companies, they literally don't have a way to protect from AI generated content and slop. So it's kind of like an arms race. If the slop and the engagement factor and the likability of that sort of content, that mass produced stuff, outpaces humanity's ability to regulate their own thoughts and brains and to see what's going on, then sure, maybe Instagram's going to survive. But my theory is that we're going to see a more open source social media where everybody, like, say if Jared writes a post, the AT protocol is basically a new way of saying, hey, Jared wrote a post, and he tagged this guy's other post, and those two posts, they don't live on Instagram, they live on my server. My, I could rent it from somebody else. It's like a little hard to explain. Go look into it. Decentralized social media. This anyway. What I'm trying to say here is, until such time as we're able to bolt on bots to protect ourselves, and we're able to trust big open source collective blacklists of identities, whether anonymous or not, on the internet, mimetic defenses are probably going to be very important for protecting our brains. So, long story short, I'm putting this in the mental health note. I know that probably didn't make a lot of sense, but that's okay. This video is for me. Mental health note. All right. I'm going to have to read that, but I don't have time today. So, understanding traceroute. Damn, I want to read that, but I don't have time today. So, this is just going deep on a really cool technology. I'm going to make a traceroute note and put this here because I skimmed this essay and it looks fan-freaking-tastic. All right, I'm dropping the link in a traceroute, software tagged note, and I'm going to link that note. I'm going to link that note to, oh my gosh, DNS? Does this have anything to do with DNS? Sure. We're linking it to DNS, guys. Voila. Okay. It's a good tool. I want to read about it, understand what it does, because honestly, the Linux command line is incredible. Okay, this is actually something I need to do. I need to sign up for the Caledonian Games. Yep. So let me throw that on the old calendar. I'm just going to do that off to the side because nobody needs to see my calendar. Okay. Account for externalities. Oh, this is really short. I can read it. Okay. Yep. That's been happening a lot lately. I found this to be true. I'm working at a high growth startup, and engineering is a craft of maintenance instead of creation. At least once your business starts generating revenue, once you're making money, it is important that you don't turn off the money hose by breaking shit. So yeah, the question is, can we make this thing better without losing any of the functionality that we rely on to actually generate revenue? That's the big issue with engineering. I'm not going to save that note. It was basically just saying, hey, sometimes, things happen that you didn't expect and you didn't account for it. Part 2, the agentic workflow, the complete development life cycle. Beads, task graph, swarm, self-referencing flywheel. I'm not ready to hand off this much control to an agent yet. I've still got some more work to do maximizing my current Claude code workflow. This is a little bit too fast of a step. I want to learn the basics from the ground up and understand everything. Some might say, hey, that's going to be cutting down your ability to move fast. I say, like that article just referenced, the problem with engineering is not building new stuff. It is making sure that the stuff you build is maintainable and can keep making money. So I'm working, again, working at a company that's doing tens of millions per year, and I can't just start bolting on random half-baked ideas from an AI. Sure, maybe it's really, really good code, but we need to build it from the ground up so that it's maintainable, well-defined. You know, the sacrificing maintainability for a quick bolt-on feature now, especially when that feature is core, is a terrible idea. If it's just something we're testing out, fine, but it needs to have a well-defined scope that we created, and we basically said, hey, these are the files we need you to build. Here's what they need to do. Here's the test cases. And I can do that with Claude Code already, okay? I know there's ways we can speed up, but we'll take one problem at a time. I'm not running a whole freaking agentic flywheel until it makes sense to do. Okay, we'll solve. Here's how I like to solve problems. Let's say I need to build a whole new software product. Okay, problem number one, it doesn't exist. So you build the bare bones scaffolding MVP, get that thing up. So you have something to show. Maybe before you do that, you do a little bit of drawing, you talk about what you need to build, and you get agreement from interested parties on what you're going to build. Okay, boom. Now, what's the first problem you're going to likely encounter? You're missing functionality. So you build the bare bones functionality you need to solve the problem at hand. And okay, you're going to run into something where there is manual repetitive work. Like maybe you have to format a bunch of files into the right shape to upload into your software. Okay, well now what you're going to do is build a tool to do that for you. Okay, then you're probably going to get a bunch of customer support tickets in. So maybe you need an automated way to route those things around. Bit by bit, you take these big inefficient loops of pain and effort that you have to expend on maintaining your whole business entity, and you cut those loops off. You isolate the complexity, you figure out the flow, and you define it in software, and the software saves you time, and then you can go farther, further, faster, farther, further, faster, same thing. Anyway, I'm not doing all that with AI. I want to, we have to understand it from the ground up in order to make good decisions going forward. This is too much. We need to build it slowly. Again, having an AI agent that opens PRs for you when a bug request comes in, fantastic idea. But we need to understand from the ground up how it's working. We need to understand from the ground up what that workflow looks like. I'm not just bolting on some crazy system, and that, that might sound backwards of me, but my biggest my biggest priority is, again, not breaking stuff. Okay. Now let me go drop that note in Coding with AI. Coding with AI. I will revisit it when I have time. Because the goal is, of course, not to, oh no, AI. The goal is to use AI for what it's good at, but make sure that you're not hurting your existing business. Priority number one is don't hurt the existing business. Watch this. I'm going to reload this YouTube page. All of these sidebars will disappear. What? That's cool. It's because I have a Chrome extension installed called Unhook. Remove YouTube recommended. So go install that. You can turn it off anytime, but now I only have the video in the comments, what I came here for. Risk is always mispriced. Pretty girls, public speaking, quitting your job. This is probably related to, where's that book? Where is that book? Oh, here we go. This is probably ideas that are related to this stuff by Charles Munger, Warren Buffett's right-hand man. And it's ideas that are saying, hey, logical fallacy exists. Sometimes you can't trust your intuition. This video is probably going to be rehashing a bunch of the same stuff, saying, hey, the risk of doing X thing might actually be less than you think, which is true. You know who else says that? Who else says that is Tim Ferriss in the 4-Hour Workweek. He says you actually, when you want to do something crazy and awesome and cool, but you're afraid to do it, you should really write down the worst possible case scenario. You should write down the worst possible case scenario and look at it, sit with it, think, can I deal with it? Here's an example. Let's say you're thinking about quitting your job to go surf for 5 years. And you're like, dude, life is short. I want to do that. Okay. What is the worst possible case scenario that prevents 90% of people from ever taking a step towards something that they really, really, truly want? well, that's not having money, getting destitute, going broke. But then you think about it for a little bit and you realize, wait, actually, the worst possible case scenario here is if I'm already employed, I know I can get jobs. Maybe maybe I run out of money surfing. Maybe I break my leg on the rocks. Maybe, heaven forbid, I drown. But all of those things could be, those could all happen to you anyway. You could run out of money. You could break your leg any day. You could drown any day. These things can happen. Um, so it's not like you're really um, risking that much. I mean, the real thing that most people are afraid of is the money in a situation like that. But you just have to remind yourself, like, wait, I have seen apartments in crappy cities going for like a few $100 a month, and I could probably get a bartender job without that much effort if I'm relatively competent at being a person. Or I could, go work at Walmart. Like literally, the worst case scenario for chasing your dreams is you crash and burn, and you have to go work at Walmart and get roommates that you don't like. That's the worst case scenario, and then you just come back from there. So I'm not going to watch that whole video. I think I've already kind of internalized those ideas. The worst case scenario for making some sort of financial investment is obviously that the investment nets you zero, or don't do anything that would put you in debt. So yeah, I think I already understand that. This Ribbon Farm is a great place, by the way. Home of the wonderful series of essays on, what's it called? The Gervais method. Go read those. It's about corporate politics. Not sure if I agree with all of it, but what do I know? I'm just a kid. So, Ribbon Farm is retiring. Wait, where was I? The Holy Grail of Self-Improvement. Neo-Pavlovian behavior change. Oh my God. Oh my God. Okay, so I'm going to put this on the read later list. This one passes the sniff test because I really like Ribbon Farm. I'm going to remove from group, delete group, put in here. Okay, what else have we got?
Hey, what's up?
I hijacked my brain to get rich. This guy's selling a course. SQLite Productions. Yeah, I'll just drop this in the SQLite note because I have a note on SQLite already. It's an amazing technology. Not using it right now.
Tony, why should people join us on April 23rd through the 25th for the AI Advantage Summit?
Because I know you know AI. I've seen things.
Okay. This is a cool video of some Amazon guy teaching you about corporate politics. I'm going to drop that in the communication note, and I will watch it later. I'll even tag it with to do, because I think, honestly, this one will pass the sniff test. Maybe I'll have time to watch it today. I think in today's world, it's much more important to get good at talking to people and get good at communicating your ideas than it is to be simply technically competent and good at doing stuff. You know what they say, sometimes it's not the person who's the best at the job that gets paid the most, it's the person who's the most likable, or the person who's the most likable that gets the promotion. I think that, at least at this stage in my career, I'm pretty good at making stuff, and it would be a really good idea to upgrade my communication skills, my ability to transfer ideas out of my head into somebody else's. And check this out. I got some books on it. This is like just a small part of the stack, but look, I've got some psychology, I've got Resonate, how to transmit ideas from your head into somebody else's head with as little loss of data as possible. Body language. See, books are great. Books are great because they don't vie for your attention like internet article titles do. Books are great. Okay. Anyway, I think it's more important to maximize your skills with people at this stage in the world than it is to maximize your skills with technology. My job is in technology, so I kind of have to do both. Anyway, this is an interesting thing with AI. The AIs were working together. It's like agent orchestration. I'm just going to make an agent orchestration note. I'm not going to read this whole thing. I kind of get the idea of what it does. Factory. What is Factory? Agent native software development. Yet another tool that fits into all of your places. It lets you probably spin up PRs from incoming tickets, blah, 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 blah. Whatever.
What we're looking at right here is
just 10x everyone's Claude codes. Who's Andrej Kaparthi? Computer researcher. He 10x'd everyone's Claude code. He has a full course, all my free courses, blah, blah, blah. I've been saying for a while that Obsidian is going to be really critical going forward. It's uniquely placed. It's uniquely, yeah, it's uniquely positioned right now to be a tool that LLMs use, especially LLM agents like Claude Code, for example. But it's also human readable at the same time. It's a great tool, and I think they're probably going to explode because one, everybody already loves them, so they love to see if they can work it into their existing flows with the LLMs, and two, the LLMs can easily read and write them. They're just freaking markdown files, and you can also like version control it. That's fantastic. So I know Obsidian's hiring people right now. I think they're hopefully going to capitalize on this. I know they also just created a CLI for, well, this is probably a month or two ago. They created a CLI for Obsidian so that AI agents can create notes on the fly from your CLI, Claude Code, boom, baby. This is worth reading. This is worth reading. Do I need to watch this guy's video? AI Automation 101. What we're building.
Creating a website can be complex. Choose hosting.
I should probably just pay for YouTube Premium.
Host your WordPress.
more simple than
Okay. Data ingest. Okay, it's an LLM knowledge base using Obsidian. You create a wiki. Okay, so it's like there's some structure here. Yeah, okay. You can ask all sorts of complex questions. I just use the great searching capabilities of Obsidian for that and a decent tagging system to accomplish the same thing. Index. Do you really need an index when it can just like do an ls and list the contents? Idea files are more important than code. Okay, so this is actually related to an idea called Zettelkasten. I think I've got a note in that somewhere. So Zettelkasten, if I pronounce that correctly, is a way to organize your notes and distill them into useful things over time. So imagine you've got 5,000 pieces of paper on your desk with various jotted down notes and calendar appointments, blah, blah, blah. Zettelkasten is a way to handle that. But the thing that you really want to find is the actual valuable ideas from those notes. So you link them to each other, you distill it down, and you write statement notes out of it. Like, let's say you've got 20 notes on databases, you've got notes on Postgres, you've got notes on MongoDB, you've got notes on SQLite, and let's say you're going to do something like trying to figure out what's the best database for a particular problem. So then your idea note might look something like, the title is Postgres is a better database for sharding than MongoDB for problem X. That could be the title of your note, for example, and then you would reference all of your other notes there. It looks like he's saying the same thing, except you reference your code files and you write ideas about them. That's actually pretty cool. I do the same thing with Claude Code when I'm asking it to build a new feature for me. I say, hey, here's the high-level concept of what I want to achieve. I want to achieve a checkout experience that looks like this. We want a flag to appear on certain items in the customer cart. The data has to come from the back end, and it needs to go to the front end. And here's 5 file names that are related. So here's the idea. Here's the actual underlying substrate that makes it happen. Go crazy. And then the agent will create a plan for me, and then I execute the plan. Okay, very interesting. So when you write ideas, I've actually kind of been doing this. Idea files are more important than code. Hopefully somebody finds a way to formalize this. It sounds like Obsidian might be the way. Maybe Obsidian would be the way. Although, oh shit. I wonder if we could embed Obsidian within our own code base, where maybe we don't need to though, because files already import each other. So if I give Claude Code one file, you know, it's able to see all the imports and it's able to ignore the non-imported stuff and go find it effectively. This is interesting stuff. I'm gonna have to go. I'm gonna have to go see if this has. This is worth reading. This is worth reading. Okay. What do we got? Megatrain, full precision training, 180 billion parameter large language models on a single GPU. Don't care. Okay, what else we got? Thread blocking when using async manager and database. No longer a problem. Fixed that one. Small web. Don't have time for it. I'd rather play with AT protocol or like Mastodon or Blue Sky. Small web. Don't have time. Sorry. Hangfire. Don't have time. That's not a problem. We fixed it. Bill status. Digital age assurance. Oh yeah. Stupid bill. Hopefully nobody obeys it. I don't have time to read the whole bill. Get shit done. Lightweight, powerful meta prompting, codec spectrum system. Yeah, I'll compare this Claude Code system to other ones. So this passes the sniff test. Oh, hope that wasn't important. No, we're good. Okay. Thread safety. Don't need this. Don't need that. Ignore this. Ignore that. Fine, I'll read about it. It's probably not something I'm going to implement. Thread pool starvation. I don't know why I have this in a tab. PG bounce, I already know what that is. Stack extend thread theft from Redis. Don't need. I have a lot of notes for PG bouncer. This was me working on a bug not too long ago. This is all just like bug stuff. Okay. Hangfire is a great app, by the way. Documentation. Okay. Thread pool bug. Here we go. I'm going to read that one. Boom. Okay, now I've got a bunch of stuff for Claude.
This is probably.
He did not just say run from root. Great thumbnail. How I use Claude Code at Meta. Meta. Understand anything. Fine. This was a cool essay. I need to find it. I wonder if they deleted it. Oh yeah, I blocked it. Voila. When you're gathering information, sometimes you just have to block information sources. Oh wait, wrong name. What was that guy's name? Okay, honestly, this feels like reactionary information seeking, so because I can't articulate why that information would be useful to me, I'm not going to read that article. Okay, GStack. Everybody's talking about GStack. It's an amazing time when CEOs can post GitHub repos that are full of text files and call it world altering. User events.md. Oh shit. more code.
I watched my agent happily click the I'm not a robot.
OpenClaw. I'm gonna watch this because the OpenClaw guy is insanely crazy at building stuff. The creator of Claude Code sets up his workflow. Ah, fine. Okay, I'm gonna speed watch these three.
What's up, friends?
Move to tab. Passed sniff test. Okay, so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I've got 13 pieces of content that I deemed worthy of further investigation that will take more than a couple minutes. So that's pretty good. My Google Chrome tabs are cleared out. On the one hand, you might argue, hey, why don't you just work on the stuff that you do every week? On the other hand, you can argue, hey, you probably need to be growing as the industry grows. So I think this is a pretty good compromise. I think that it makes sense to do it like this. And if I find that a video is not providing real value, or it's advocating for an approach that I find particularly unsafe or distasteful, I will not finish that content. So hopefully, by not engaging with the majority of those tabs, I just save myself a couple hours, and I'll have time to get through this stuff today, clear it out, and consider my learning for the week done. Anyway, that's the process.